don't. At least in my experiences. This is a huge don't. Your mileage may vary, your experiences may vary, but for me, do not work for exposure. When somebody says, oh, you take these pictures for me, or you do this photo edit for me, or you do this video for me, and you'll get exposure in all my web platforms. I've got X amount of million followers on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, Twitter, and when they see your work, you're gonna blow up. No, not necessarily the case. It's never happened for me. It's never happened for any of my photography, photo editor, or videographer friends. Never. What happens is, take for example, you as an artist, or even before you became an artist, when you're looking through a magazine and you see some nice fashion photos or product photos or any type of photo, do you look to see who the photographer is? I mean, be honest. Do you ever? And if you do see that photographer, do you follow up with that photographer and look to hire that photographer? Not necessarily, at least not in my case. And just say that photographer did that for exposure. There's millions of magazines out worldwide with your picture in there, and you get exposure, but what do you get from that exposure? Did you get hired? Did you get a job because of that? Most likely not. I've been offered exposure all throughout my careers. Even today, I'm nearly 15 years in, somewhat established in my small circle, and I still get offered exposure. Exposure does nothing for me, especially at this point in my career. It did nothing for me back then when I started, and it does absolutely nothing for me now. But here's a do in regards to exposure. This is how I counter when people offer me exposure as compensation as opposed to paying me my rate. So one time I had this guy tell me, man, I love your photos. Your photos are amazing, man. If you did my photos, I could get you all the exposure in the world. It was something for like a car club or something. He wanted me to take a picture of his car for his car club and take some epic pictures, make his car look really hot. And you know, I was enthused by the idea. I was intrigued. I was like, yeah, we could do this, man. I would love to shoot your cars. I'm into cars anyway. I like that stuff. So he was like, well, I asked him what his budget was. And he's like, well, right now I'm looking to do a trade for exposure. And I told him, like, you know, I don't really do trade for exposure. I don't do trade for much of anything nowadays. And he said, yeah, but see, my car club has X amount of members, and we go to these shows and we do this and we promote clubs and we do all that. If you did my photos, you get a lot of exposure, and I can guarantee you, his words, I can guarantee you that once my car club members see the work that you did for me, they'll hire you to take their photos, but you'll do mine for free for exposure. It'll be a trade. And because of my experience, because of all the ups and downs that I've experienced dealing with exposure and knowing that exposure is nothing but a scam and it doesn't work, I told him, I said, how about we do it like this? Since you guarantee to get me clients after I do your photos, let's do this. You pay me my rate to take your photos. And if everybody comes back from all the exposure that you got me and hires me to do the work, I'll give you a full refund, 100%, no questions asked. I never heard another word from him. Exposure, in my experience, does absolutely nothing. It's nothing but a scam. If he was true, if he was solid in his belief that he can guarantee me clients after I did his photos for his car, and his whole car club would have came back and hired me, he would have had no problem paying me up front, knowing that he was going to get his money back 100% for sure. But no, after I said that, he had nothing else to say. So, exposure? I think not.